Hello friends, so in today's video we will be installing Docker desktop and we'll be running our first Docker container. So to install Docker you need to go to docker.com and from there you can install the Docker installer. So I have already downloaded it. Once it is downloaded, you can go to your download folder and you can double click to start the installer. So I have already installed Docker and let me open my Docker desktop. So this is the interface of Docker desktop. From here you can see the list of containers. You have a tab for images, okay, and we have volumes and builds and other sections. So now let's run our first Docker container. So for that we will be going to a Docker hub. Okay, from here, from the Docker hub, you can see that you have lots of options and lots of Docker images available that you can run and you can use for your development purpose, for your application development. So you have your databases like Postgres, MySQL, MongoDB is there, Neo4j, monitoring tool like Grafana, InfluxDB. Okay, developer tools we have. So we have lots of Docker images available to run our Docker containers. We can get these images. We can download these images from Docker and Docker Hub, and we can run our container. So we will be installing a Hello World Docker image. Let me search for this image. Okay, so this is the image. Okay. So this is the Hello World Docker image. Okay. And to run the Hello World container, what you need to do is you just need to run this command docker run hello world. So you can open your Windows terminal. Okay. From there you can type docker ps is command to check all the running processes of Docker, and hyphen a actually displays all the Docker running container as well as Docker container which are stopped or exited. So right now there is no container running. Okay. So we will run docker run hello world. So it says that unable to find image hello world latest locally. So in locally they are not able to see this image. So now it has started pulling the image. If you see. So it has first started pulling the Docker image. Okay. Once the Docker image was pulled successfully, okay, and the image was downloaded, it printed hello from Docker. So this is actually the output from the running Docker container. So it is also yeah, here it says all the steps that was executed when we run this command. So the Docker client contacted the Docker daemon. The Docker daemon pulled the hello world image from the Docker hub, AMD64. The Docker daemon created a new container from that image, which runs the executable that produces the output you are currently reading. So this output that we are seeing here is the output of the Docker hello world, Docker hello world container output. Okay. So it also says to try something that if you want to run a Docker Ubuntu container, you can just run this it Ubuntu bash. It will pull the Docker Ubuntu image and it will run it in -it is interactive mode. So we'll run it in interactive mode and will go inside the Docker Ubuntu container and do a bash shell. Now let us run Docker images command. So this Docker images command shows the list of Docker images that is present locally on my machine. So right now it has pulled the hello world Docker image. So it is showing here as hello world. So let us now create our first custom hello world Docker image. Okay, and that we will be running as our own Docker hello world container. So I've created a folder. In this, I will be creating our Docker file. So Docker file, what is a Docker file? Docker file is a kind of a blueprint that is used to create a Docker image. So we will be creating a Docker image and we will be running a Python script. So let us search for a Python Docker container. So this is a Python image. Okay. So, so if you go to the Docker Hub Python image path, you will see all the documentation for this container. Okay. And here it has shown some command to run the Docker, how to create a Docker file. So create a Docker file in your Python app project. Okay. So it says your daemon or script.py. So we will create a Python file. Let me create a Python script. And I'm just printing hello world. Now we just copy this command, all these commands which is there. Now the first command which says from Python 3. So it will create our Docker image using the base images Python 3. After that, it's saying work directory as user src app. So this path will be used as our working directory inside our container. Then it is copying a requirement.txt. So requirement.txt is a file where we can have the Python dependencies mentioned, and when we do a pip install requirements.txt, it actually install all the requirements from the requirement.txt file. Copy is basically to just copy from our current directory to the Docker directory. So since our working directory is user src app, this will copy the files, that is our python test.py file, inside the user src app file, user src app path inside the Docker container. And this is the command to actually run the Docker image, which will Docker image or Docker container. So this will be the command that will be executed at the end. So here I will be mentioning the name of my Python file. Okay, so this is the Docker file. Okay, once the Docker file is created, you need to run docker build -t my Python app dot. So I will be running docker build -t is for giving the name to your Docker image. So my Python app, and then we need to mention the path where our Docker file is present. So my Docker file is present inside the current directory I am inside. So from there I will be running this command. So it has now started building the Docker image using the Docker file. Okay, so it is right now giving an error regarding that requirements.txt file is not present. Since this requirement.txt we have not added inside this this path, right? So what we can do is, since we are not using any Python libraries or dependencies, we don't need this Docker requirements and this pip install command to install the Python libraries. So I will be removing these two commands, and I will again run the Docker build command. So whenever when you build a Docker image and there is any problem inside your Docker file, it will be displayed in the output. Like it says that error is at this step where we are doing a copy requirement.txt. Failed to compute it now, failed to calculate it now. This docker.txt not found. So it will give you the error specifying why the Docker build command failed. Now it is building again. So it is actually from Docker IO. So this is the first command that we mentioned. So it is right now pulling the Docker Python image, on top of which it will be building our custom Python image. So it will take some time depending on the base Docker image that you are using, the size of the base Docker image that you are using. So I'm going to pause the video for now, and once the Docker image is created, we will continue. Okay, now the Docker image is created successfully. So if you see here, we started the Docker build command, okay, and it started to build the Docker images, and it changed. At first, it pulled the base Docker Python image. After that, it executed the command what work directory user src app, and then it copied the test.py file, and then it created our Docker image. So to check the Docker image that we have created, we can run Docker images command. So this is hello world, which was the default hello world we pulled from Docker Hub, and my Python app is basically the Docker image that we created just now. So if you see, the size of this is 1 GB, and if you see the size of this hello world, it was 13 KB. So that's why this hello world image is, it took a very less time to pull and run. And since the size of the base Python image was 1 GB, that's why it took a lot of time to pull the image and then build our own custom image. So if you go to that Docker Hub Python page, right? So this was the command that we executed, right, from Python 3. Now if you scroll down, you will see image variants. So we used Python dot hyphen version. It says it's a Debian based image. Okay. So Debian is a Linux image. So it was using basically a complete Linux. That's why the size of this Python image was around 1 GB. So they have few other variants of image like Python version hyphen slim. It's a lightweight version than this one. Then we have Python version Alpine, and then we have Python version Windows Server Pro. So let's try to use this slim version and build our Docker image. So I will be again opening my Docker file, and here I will be changing this Docker image to Docker slim image. Okay. And again I will run the Docker build command. Now this time we are using the Python slim image to build our custom Docker image. So you can see that building this image took very less time. Okay, it took around 58.1 seconds to finally build the image. Okay. And now let us run the Docker image command, Docker images command to see our Docker image. So if you see my Python app slim image that we created, it is of size 124 MB only. Okay, so we have now created our own Python Docker images. Now let us try to run the Docker container. So first let me run the Docker run Python IT. Let me first run the first image that we created. So this is the first image. Hello world. This is the custom Docker container. So yes, it is not showing the container because it is exited. Now if I do a hyphen A, it is going to show us these two containers that we ran. It was created. These two containers were created 123 minutes ago and this 17 seconds, and both are in exited state since we executed both the containers. If I run this and then run bash. So now it started the Docker container, and I since I run hyphen IT and bash, I'm in the bash shell of my Docker container. And if you see, I am inside as a root, and the path is user src app. This is the uh, work directory that we mentioned in our Docker file. And if you see here, you can see the Docker file and test.py. This is because we executed the command copy dot and then dot. Dot means copy the files in the current directory to the working directory inside the Docker image. So now I will to get out exit the Docker container. I can just run Docker exit, or just wait. Let me run a Docker ps command now. Run a Docker ps command now. You can see that there is one container running. Okay, and it is up from last 55 seconds, and name of the container is eager. This name is actually randomly picked. You can also give our own custom name. For that we have some flags in our Docker run command. Okay. And if I run Docker ps -a, I can see that two of the Docker containers are in exited state, and one Docker container is up and running. And if I do a exit command, now I am outside the Docker container. and if I do a docker ps, it is exited. Now all the three containers are in exited state. Now we can see all these container. We have we have seen all these container using the Docker CLI commands. Now let us see inside the Docker desktop. So this is the Docker desktop app, and if you see here, these are the all three containers that we run, right? And the status of all the three containers are in exited state. And if I go to images, I will see all the three images: Hello World Python app and my Python app Sling. So let me run this command. So from Docker desktop, you can just run the Docker container from here, from the actions. So if I run here, run a new container. So if you see here, it has started the container and the log is printed here. You can see the log here. Okay. Now if I go to containers, I am seeing the all the Docker containers that we executed. This was the latest one, Docker my Python app Sling that we started. So we can use the Docker desktop as well to run the Docker containers, to stop the Docker containers, and to perform other Docker related commands. So thank you. So this is all about Docker, how we run a Docker container, how we build a Docker container. And in future videos, maybe we will be looking into so more Docker images and Docker containers, and maybe we will be building some apps where we will be using some databases which we will be running in our Docker container. So thanks all. Bye bye.